When I was young, our family trips were super important to me. I used to live in a place with lots of sand and few trees in Arizona. So, when we went camping in Washington, it felt like entering a totally different world. My cousin, Jake, and I were like best buddies during these trips. We always had a ton of fun and got up to some mischief together. During one trip in Washington, something big happened that changed everything. Jake was a year older than me and we were partners in fun. We loved exploring the woods, playing games, especially one called Bandit that we made up. It was like a super fast version of tag. We were playing for a long time when suddenly I ran really fast. I felt super excited and raced through the trees until I found an old, spooky trailer. My friend Jake caught up while holding a stick, and we both looked at the creepy place. Even though we were curious, we decided not to check it out and went back. But then things got weird. We got lost in the woods and met a couple carrying a rusty cart with random stuff. The lady was friendly and asked if we needed help. They even invited us for lunch at their campsite. Since it was daytime, I thought it would be okay. The cart seemed strange. It had old, rusty stuff and things that looked like they were found randomly. The person in charge made me uncomfortable. They never smiled and just stared at us, which gave me a creepy feeling. It made me feel a bit scared. As they took us back to the trailer, things got even stranger. They were rushing us, and I had a bad feeling inside, like something was wrong. Then, I saw my sister among the trees. I didn't hesitate, I yelled her name right away. A lady held our hands tightly, but I managed to break free with my friend Jake. We ran to my sister and told our parents, who thanked the lady and man. However, my dad and uncle felt something wasn't right about the man. Jake and I didn't fully understand what happened then, but we knew it was not good. As time passed, Jake and I kept it a secret, thinking we should handle it alone. But as we got older, we realized that was a mistake. We finally told our parents a few years ago, wishing we had spoken up earlier. There's more to the story that we didn't know back then. Recently, the local police called me because they were looking into some kids who had gone missing in the same place where my friend Jake and I camped a few years ago. We were surprised because we didn't think what happened to us could be related to something so serious. When we met the police, they showed us pictures of the missing kids. It really scared me. Then, the police told us something shocking. They were investigating a possible human trafficking situation close to where we were, and the couple we met matched the description of the suspects. That moment hit me hard. I couldn't stop thinking about what might have happened if we hadn't called out for my sister. It made me feel really sick and scared. The police were trying really hard to figure out what happened. They were looking into the couple's past, checking places they might be, and trying to find any clues about where the missing kids could be. It was a lot to take in. Me and Jake were relieved we got away from the scary situation, but we also felt bad for not speaking up earlier. We helped the police as much as we could by telling them everything we remembered from that day. A lot of time went by, and the police kept looking into things. Finally, they found proof that the couple was involved in the bad business of moving people illegally. The police took them into custody, and they saved some of the kids who had gone missing. Telling my kids this story helps them remember to always speak up if something seems wrong, trust their feelings, and ask for help if they need it. Before I continue to the next story, if you are interested in earning from YouTube without showing your face or without making videos by yourself using artificial intelligence, like the video that you are watching right now, then I have a special free training for you. Check the first link in the description below to get instant access. My friend and I organized a camping trip to celebrate his birthday. We drove for a really long time, around 5 hours, far from our town, after a big storm had finished. We arrived in the afternoon, luckily while it was still sunny. The person at the entrance told us that nobody else was camping there, and we thought that was really cool. We drove down a really long road until we found a place to stop, but it turned out to be a dead end. That meant we had to drive all the way back if we wanted to leave. Putting up the tent was fine, and then we decided to explore the woods. It was very quiet there, but because it was bright outside, we felt okay walking around. We walked pretty far and found these strange white cabins. They all looked exactly the same, lined up in a row, which was odd for a camping area. It felt a little spooky, like we weren't supposed to be there. The cabins were super clean and tidy, not like what you'd expect to find in the woods. So, we decided to go back to our tent and chill out. We wanted to make a fire outside but couldn't because everything was wet from the rain. We had special logs and lighter fluid, but they didn't work because of the wetness. We didn't know how to make a fire without dry things to burn. I started feeling worried because we weren't ready to be alone in the wild after the storm. After some trying, we finally made a small fire. We cooked hot dogs and marshmallows and looked at the stars. But it got really dark, and it was super quiet. My friend gets scared easily and wanted to go into the tent. So, we put out the fire and went inside the tent, talking until we fell asleep. We heard loud footsteps that sounded like a group of people walking. At first, I thought it might be animals, but then we heard whispers that didn't sound like animals at all. We became quiet and looked at each other in the dark. The sounds came closer, right outside our tent. We were scared and didn't move or make any noise. I hoped it was just a person who was camping nearby and had been drinking too much, but the person in charge of the camping area said we were the only ones staying there. My friend quietly said we needed to reach the car. I quickly looked outside, asked her to stay close, and we rushed to the car. I locked the doors, but we were really scared. We hurriedly gathered our things. I tossed everything into the trunk and suddenly heard footsteps. I got really scared, grabbed the tent in a rush, and shoved it into the trunk. We left the place we were at, but it was dark, and I couldn't remember how we got there. We accidentally ended up in a different camping area, and I got really angry. Eventually, I saw a sign that helped me find the right way back. We hurried out of there. While we were going back, I saw a green light in the woods, near where we had set up camp. It looked like the light coming from the logs we brought. Someone else was using them. We drove all the way back home, stayed at my friend's parents' place, and never talked about that trip again. Later, the police contacted us about the campground. They discovered strange things there. People had reported odd events before. The police found the white cabins we saw, but nobody was inside. This was weird because those cabins were supposed to be part of the campground. They also found signs of a fire near where we stayed. The logs we had left were used for it. And the scariest part is the police found footprints around our tent that didn't match ours. They couldn't identify whose prints they were. That's when I realized that the feeling of someone being there was true. It was really creepy. After that, we never went back and just tried to forget about the whole thing. Three years ago, when I was in my second year of high school, I went camping with my friends Doug, Lewis, and Isaiah during spring break. We were a group of energetic teenagers who were really excited about the adventure Doug suggested while I was visiting town. We drove to the lake in my old, worn-out car, playing loud music and having a great time. We passed through some woods we knew before finding a smaller path that led us to our camping spot. As we started walking, we noticed something odd. Even though it was a nice, warm day in spring, we saw houses with metal chimneys puffing out smoke. But when we reached a peaceful spot by a lake, everything changed. It was quiet and calm there, with lots of trees and a small patch of grass. We decided to set up our tent, make a fire pit with rocks, and get comfortable as the evening came. As it got darker, we started sharing stories and laughing together around the crackling fire. We had some drinks with us, which made the fun even better. But as the night went on, it became really dark, and the drinks made us a bit unsteady on our feet. We ended up stumbling around as we tried to walk straight. I left to go near the edge of the forest. It was really dark and made me feel scared because I could hear noises like things moving. Even though I was a bit drunk, I still wanted to see what was there. I walked through and accidentally kicked something really solid. It hurt, but I used my phone's light to see and found an old green truck that nobody was using. It was kind of like a scary part, and when I looked inside the truck and saw a man, his eyes looked empty and his smile was really creepy. I got really scared and ran quickly back to our campfire. But I accidentally bumped into it and my pants caught on fire. I rolled on the ground to put out the fire. My friends were really surprised because they didn't know why I was so scared. I tried to show them that I was scared of something near the truck. But before they could understand, the truck suddenly started and its bright lights trapped us. We hurried to the car and quickly locked the doors. My heart was thumping loudly. I started the car and drove really fast, trying to get away because a big truck was following us closely. The trees around us looked huge and made me feel a bit trapped, but when we reached an open area, the truck suddenly stopped chasing us. Finally, we got back to Doug's house feeling scared but happy that we were okay. The next day, we thought a lot about what happened. Doug and I saw the truck at the start, but the man had been watching us for a while. We talked about calling the police but chose not to because we were worried they might not believe our strange story. After a few days, the news said that someone had disappeared near the lake where I saw that strange man. The police started looking into it and talking to people who often go there. Even though we didn't really want to, we decided to tell the police about what we saw because it was so weird. They listened carefully to what we said and looked all around for things that could help solve the problem. The old truck that was left behind became very important in their search, but they didn't find any clues about the strange person. The police told us to be careful and stay away from that place. They couldn't figure out what happened, so the mystery stayed unsolved. After that scary night, things went back to normal, but we couldn't forget what happened. Even after finishing high school, we became really close friends. But I couldn't shake off the creepy memory of that man's eyes and smile. It made me wonder what else might have been hiding in those woods. We kept what happened a secret between us, and it kind of connected us more than anything else could. But even now, I still think about that camping trip and all the things we never figured out. It's like a mystery that won't leave my mind.